Welcome to Metaverse Express. I'm your host, Mona, and before we get started, you know what to do. Please be sure to subscribe below for your weekly news update. All right, guys, today's episode is going to be a full stop where we hit the brakes for a full stop to discuss hot topics in the Metaverse. So if you're ready, let's hop right into it. Now, whether it's scalping fraudulent tickets or illicit reselling, we all know the legacy ticketing system got some issues. If you remember, back in June, counterfeit tickets caused a huge chaos in the French capital when 35,000 people showed up to the 2022 Champions League final with fake tickets or none at all. Now, the chaos and the madness outside the stadium proved one thing: that we need innovative solutions to events ticketing, and we need it now. Now, since then, blockchain companies and exchanges like Binance have launched their pilot program offering NFT ticketing solutions. But how does blockchain ticketing even work? And more importantly, how will it solve these problems? Well, this week I sat down with Asher Weiss, the CEO and co-founder of Tixologi, to find out more. I hope you find the information on this topic valuable. All right. Well, hello, everyone. And thank you for joining Metaverse Express Full Stop, where we hit the brakes for a full stop to discuss hot topics in the Metaverse. Joining me today is a very special guest, the CEO and co-founder of Tixologi, Asher Weiss, and I hope I said your last name right. Did I say it right?
Got it. You got it right.
Awesome. Asher, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mona, for having me. It's really exciting to see kind of some of the work you've done in the past and have the opportunity to chat with you and reach some of your audience. So thank you for having me.
Of course, and I have to tell you, I am such a big fan of what you guys are doing, and I've been really wanting to have this conversation and talk about this topic for a while now. So I'm just really excited you're here and you're going to break this down or break some of these, I call them, I guess, real world use cases for our audiences, especially for our non crypto native audience.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's, a big focus of ours too, is we realize that, even though you and I can spend a lot of time in this kind of Web3 bubble, there's a big subsection of the population still that isn't familiar with NFTs and isn't familiar with blockchain. And so how do we reach those people? How do we make it more inclusive and bring more people into the fold, right? So excited to talk about that as well.
Absolutely. And that's always my goal too. But first thing first, you have a really cool background. You've been with the Warriors and you've been right down the street, right down the street from me with the Orlando Magic. Will you tell us about this cool techie background that you have?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, kind of all my life, I've been an avid sports fan myself, and I actually grew up in Toronto. So, growing up, obviously hockey's big there, but the Raptors were also kind of coming into their element and right around, kind of as I was growing up. And so, been a sports fan all my life. Never really kind of thought I'd work in sports, but had an opportunity to join the Orlando Magic in their innovation lab. They're the first innovation lab in the NBA and in professional sports. And the goal there is really to just spread innovation across the organization, working on a wide range of strategic projects, everything from improving player health and safety to improving the premium experience to finding ways to help make the app more interesting and engaging, all kinds of things there.
Yeah.
So spent a couple years there working in the innovation lab with a great team, and then had the opportunity to join the Golden State Warriors as the product lead for the mobile app. So took hold of that and helped launch a brand new mobile app for the Warriors with the opening of Chase Center, the new building there in San Francisco, and had the opportunity there to really help build out that app, provide incredible functionality for fans to kind of enhance their game day experience, whether that's ordering food and beverage, buying parking, all these kind of different things. And then when COVID hit, finding ways to engage with the fans at home as well, with the launch of something called Game Mode, where fans could go on and chat and do polling and trivia with other fans. So did that for a couple years, and obviously learned a lot about ticketing along the way, and lot of pain points in the industry, and so eventually decided to do something, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
We sure are. And my friend, you are certainly qualified to build and educate the folks out there on this. I guess I call it the next iteration of ticketing, if you will. And we were talking about it earlier, and I have to tell you, I listened to your panel at NFT NYC, and I think I personally had my first NFT real world, I guess you could say, use case aha moment at NFT NYC, when I was standing in line at one of the side events, and I think I want to say it was maybe Doodles, I'm not sure. And I walk up to the bouncer, and they usually ask for ID, and he asked for my NFT. And not only that, he had an authentication app that authenticated my NFT to make sure it was mine and it was in my wallet, right?
Mhm.
And then he checked my ID. But but I had
Yeah.
this moment, right? And I said to myself, wow, I am experiencing a real world NFT use case up close and personal right now. And it was just so surreal. And I feel like we have come a long way since paper, I guess paper ticketing, you could say.
Yeah.
And you can tell that a shift is really taking place. Can you kind of briefly take us through the evolution of ticketing from paper to digital? And then where are we today?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, this is such an interesting topic. I mean, obviously, it all started way back when with just kind of those original kind of ticket stubs, hard copy stubs that you would, go to the box office, buy your stub, and then use that and give that on the door, not even a scanning element, right? And as
Yeah.
things evolved, we like to talk about it as like there have been a lot of cosmetic changes in the actual look and
Yes.
feel of the ticket. Some kind of improvements around the design, making things look kind of cooler and more fun and things like that. And then kind of in this shift to digital ticketing, moving away from those hard copy tickets into this digital tickets. But ultimately, it's still been kind of very minimal changes in terms of the experience. And
Mhm.
so the industry is really in need of a shakeup here. And so with that being said, this next evolution, or I like to say revolution of the ticket, is NFT ticketing, and for lack of lack of a better word, like I said, revolutionary in the way that we're kind of moving things to take a completely bigger step than just a cosmetic change, and instead a real fundamental change to how we think about tickets.
I want to bring an incident up that came up. I think back in June, if I remember correctly, there was this chaotic scene, if you recall, in the French capital when I think it was like 35,000 people showed up with fake tickets to the 2022 Champion League.
Mhm.
Clearly, the current ticketing model got issues, right? Can you talk to us about some of these problems in this current traditional model? And how do you see NFTs and the blockchain solving them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, there's quite a long list, so we won't spend the whole show talking about them. We probably could, right? But
Yeah, absolutely.
focusing on a few of them, I think one of the bigger challenges is just an understanding of who actually holds the ticket at any point in time. And so what happens is event producers, teams, venues kind of release these tickets on sale out into the ecosystem, and they'll capture data on who buys the ticket initially, but after that, we'll often lose track and control of where that ticket goes after that initial sale. So one of the biggest glaring pieces and one of the glaring pain points is who actually holds the ticket at any point in
Mhm.
time, and how many times has that switched hands, and who's actually coming in the door to that event with that ticket. So that's one thing. Another one is obviously fraudulent tickets, which are still a big issue today, and are something that kind of cross all kinds of different verticals, whether that's sports or music or festivals, things like that. Seeing people kind of selling tickets on one site and then selling them on another, and that, a couple people showing up to try and scan the same ticket in. Issues there. And then another one is just, finding ways to really engage your fans on a deeper level, right? And so right now it's really just kind of that barcode entry. The ticket doesn't really feel that seamless and doesn't really add that much to the experience. It's just your way of getting in. So that's, a bit of a pain point as well, is how do we make that ticket feel like more an active part of the experience than just a pain point that you need to get in the actual door. So there's a few different things there, but those are kind of some of the bigger ones right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think you would be the best person to do this because I sure couldn't do this. But can we simplify first and break this down for our, especially non-crypto natives? Can you explain how this decentralized or decentralization, I should say, in ticketing will work? And then I'm going to kind of bring us back to these issues and go a little bit deeper with that. But if you can explain to us, how does that work exactly?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a great question. I'll do my best to kind of simplify it here.
You
But
better than me.
yeah, no, but essentially, all we're talking about here is that each ticket is now an NFT, and all tickets live on the blockchain. And so what that means in terms of ticketing in general is it allows the event producer, the venue, the team to now track exactly where the ticket goes, who owns it, and also dictate the behavior of the ticket, which are, like I just alluded to, some of the bigger pain points in the industry. So it really comes down to having transparency of who actually holds the ticket and where the tickets move, and then control over the ticket, how the tickets behave, whether that's limiting kind of secondary transactions or just allowing the original issuers to share in the revenue of secondary transactions, or keeping an eye out for bots, and people who maybe shouldn't be buying tickets in bulk, understanding trends around who actually is using the tickets versus just buying them and getting rid of them. There's all kinds of things there, but to really simplify it, and why blockchain for ticketing, it really comes down to the verification that the asset is real, in this case the ticket, tracking of where it actually ends up and where it moves, and then control over the actual ticket and how it behaves, and what happens to it after that primary sale.
Wow. So, I mean, the key word here is transparency, then, right? Because the blockchain offers that ability, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, like that, yeah, that's definitely a big trend as well, and it's a fine line in ticketing, right? Between transparency, for the masses to know who owns every ticket, and more so transparency for the venues, the event producers, so they can know who their true ticket holders are and who their true fans are, which can have applications for kind of more obvious applications around marketing and targeted offers and things like that. But then other things too around security, right? And being able to actually know who's in the building at any point in time is another big factor, right? So there's a few different things there, but yeah, transparency, is a big element of that, right? And making sure that it's clear who actually holds and should hold the ticket.
We could literally have a whole conversation just on this, by the way. I just want to put that out there. I don't want people to think I'm moving on, but we literally could have, couldn't we?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
We could have an entire hour conversation on this, but I mean, that's just so fascinating. So let's say I am the Amway Center right down the street, right? And I want to incorporate this model into my, I don't know, upcoming games or concerts. What does the roadmap look like for the event holder versus the fan who doesn't know anything about the blockchain?
Yeah, and so I mean, it's a great question, and that's kind of a big thing of what we talk about too, is we want to allow event producers and fans to benefit from blockchain ticketing without having to have any blockchain knowledge, any NFT knowledge, any crypto knowledge. And so that starts with just creating, a really kind of easy to use ticketing product. And so on the side of the event producer, we work with them to fully integrate and customize their ticketing experience from start to finish. So they're no longer, kind of when people are clicking buy tickets, they're not being booted off to some external site. They're staying within, the Amway Center's site in this kind of example. They're having full control over the actual ticket design and what the ticket looks like. And so they really are taking back control of that ticketing experience. And then when they're ready to go, they've built their events, they've integrated, and they've designed their tickets. We mint the tickets as NFTs for them. So as an event producer, they don't need to have any crypto knowledge. And then as a fan, you're buying tickets directly from the source. Who do you trust more than some of these professional venues and teams that are your favorite, brands to buy the ticket from? So buying directly from them, and not, again, on the fan side, not needing any crypto knowledge, not needing a crypto wallet, being able to just go through a normal checkout transaction, and buy a ticket, and hopefully an easier experience that then is going to provide more value to you as a fan as well.
Which kind of brings me to this thought. When we talk about the blockchain, we talk a lot about interoperability, right? Will interoperability be needed in this case for the system that, let's say, Tixologi incorporates into the Amway system for Amway, and this might be confusing, sorry, to work with other projects or platforms?
Yeah, so it depends on what you mean by other projects or platforms.
I guess I shouldn't bring up centralized entities yet. Let's say, would interoperability be necessary for Tixologi to work with other decentralized projects?
Yeah, so right now, with what we're building, it is within a closed ecosystem, and we've done that for a couple reasons. One is the fact that, most importantly, I would say, is that we want to be able to meet people where they are, and we want people to not have to have a lot of crypto knowledge to engage with us. So basically, kind of spinning up those wallets on the back end for the fans, and so they don't have to kind of worry about that or understand that as well, and making it super easy for them to buy tickets, transfer tickets, sell tickets, all those kind of things. So that's one main reason. And then the other reason being, we want to allow the event producer and the venue and the team to still be able to capture revenue on all those secondary sales. And as you're probably familiar with already, blockchain technology hasn't progressed to the point where it can all just be opened up and assets can be sold across marketplaces and still get that revenue back. So until this kind of like callback system is in place, where the original kind of issuer of that asset can continue to capture a royalty on it, it will remain closed. But the future, and that's where we see things headed, is that tickets can be bought and sold wherever, and the event producer can still capture the data and revenue from those transactions.
Now, will Tixologi, let's say, when it comes to Tixologi's case, do you think initially you guys have to have this on-chain, off-chain model because you're dealing with centralized entities, or could it all be on-chain initially?
I think it could potentially be. I think, for us, the biggest thing is like really trying to bridge that gap between, Web 2 and Web 3, right? And not just kind of, going fully down the Web 3 rabbit hole like some of our competitors, frankly,
Right.
And instead making it a whole lot easier for anyone to access and take advantage of.
And then how would, in the case of, let's say, Amway, I mean, Amway works very closely with Ticketmaster. How would someone like Ticketmaster transition into this whole process?
Yeah, so frankly, in the kind of current state and what we're proposing, we replace the ticketing platform and we become the primary ticketing platform for the venue. And so that's obviously a big undertaking, and one that we know will take quite some time to kind of make those inroads, given some of those kind of large legacy ticketing player relationships. But in the case of what we're proposing, the team or the venue takes back control of their ticketing, and instead of using something that really just benefits the ticketing providers, it's really about creating what's best for the venue and what's best for their fans as well. So shifting the power away from the ticket providers back to the actual venues and fans, and those who are putting on the events.
And that's what we call decentralization, everybody.
There we go.
That is what we call decentralization. And you mentioned this earlier, and what's really cool about this, and I again experienced this at NFT NYC as an NFT holder, it was really the experience that my NFT unlocked for me, right? Which that was different. That was a game changer. Will you also talk to us about more about that access that you were talking about earlier and the possibilities that fans can have by owning, let's say, for example, a team's NFT?
Yeah, and I mean, this is so exciting to me, and this is another one where we could have a whole other episode on, right? So I'll do my best to not get overly excited here and kind of keep it fairly simplified. But I think
No, get excited. Give it to us.
I started to allude to it earlier, but I think frankly, what's in the current example of ticketing and most ticketing use cases, the ticket is really just a very small piece of the event experience and something that allows you to actually get into the venue. With what we're proposing, the ticket now becomes a part of the event experience, and that engagement between the team or the brand or the event and the fan begins with that ticket purchase. So, as soon as you buy that ticket, the venue or event can start engaging with you on a deeper level. They can, push you targeted content. And we like to talk about the ticket as a new potential communication channel, right? A way to reach your true ticket holders, your true fans through the ticket itself. So being able to surface relevant information for the event, provide promotional opportunities, reward people for their loyalty over time, allow them to order food and beverage or parking or all those kind of things like from one kind of central hub. There's just so many opportunities there. I think the most exciting though is being, now that the venues and event producers can have a super deep understanding of who their true fans are, their event behavior, and even their purchase behavior at those events, they can start to provide really incredible offers and opportunities for these fans that will reward them for their loyalty and their behavior, and their attendance and ticketing purchases. So to me, that's the really exciting thing here, is just having such a deep understanding of who your true fans are and being able to reward them.
And like you said, we can talk about this all day because there's a whole online side of this too, right? If you're watching the game online, there's a whole watch to earn that comes into play with that too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I talked a little bit about it with the Warriors example, but with this, game mode functionality, there was like, a chat, but then there were all this trivia and polling, and you'd be rewarded for your participation in those polls and trivia and for kind of keeping along with the game, keeping up with the game with other fans. And then those points could be used for, signed jerseys and experience to sit virtual courtside seats, all these kind of different things. And so, I love that, like how do we engage an at-home audience as well? Whether that's through virtual watch parties, metaverse events, other digital events. Exactly, kind of tying all that together and still having the ticket be a way of engaging with the fan and understanding who the true fans are as well.
And I love the collectibles side of this too, because you said it at NFT NYC. People loved, and to this day love, collecting their paper ticket. And I heard you say that to this day, people call even with their digital ticket and say, can I still have a printed version sent to me? But in this case, there's a whole world for collectibles that can come through this NFT ticket as well, right?
100%, and that's, you know, a general sentiment across sports and beyond, of really missing that collectible aspect of the ticket, right? And you know, myself, friends, you know, tons of people right across the world have a collection of ticket stubs, whether that's on a poster board or in a shoebox or
Me
whatever that
too.
may be, right?
Yeah.
From you know, kind of some of their most memorable events, or maybe just all their events, because they just, you know, want to kind of keep track. And so exactly, finding a way to kind of bring back that nostalgia and that feeling of a collectible, and not just bring it back, but make it super easy for people to keep track of, to share the events they go to trade with others, to, you know, collect tickets of kind of historic events as well. All those kind of things are possible, and we actually allow events to, you know, event producers and musicians and teams to customize the ticket itself. And so that's something that, you know, has been really limited in kind of digital ticketing. And so creating a way for them to really lean into that collectible aspect of the ticket again. And so when fans are getting these tickets, they can have, you know, incredible exclusive content, you know, videos, audio, set lists from concerts. The list goes on, right, of what's actually possible. And who determines, you know, what a real ticket looks like anymore? It can look like anything. And I think that's the really exciting piece, is not only bringing back the collectible aspect, but providing artistic freedom with the actual ticket itself and what it looks like.
See, I mean, the added value is just unreal, right? And there's so much more that we're not even talking about, because let's say if there was a token involved, now you know, your NFT sitting on the blockchain, and it's going to gain value as well. And that's a whole nother conversation. But one thing I want to ask you, and this is more for myself, I have some friends who share their courtside tickets, right? Will you still be able to do that when there is so much attached to your NFT? Also, going back to the example of me getting my NFT checked and authenticated and making sure that it was mine and in my wallet, how would that work? Just real quick.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and that's another piece. I'm really glad you brought it up, because yeah, in this case of, you know, season ticket holders, you know, who are that are sharing their tickets or giving their tickets away, there's a lot of lost data there as well, right? So for the team, not knowing who's actually coming to the game, and if the season ticket holders are actually utilizing the tickets that they've purchased, is another big trend for just trying to retain season ticket holders in general. So part of it, you know, is really just allowing the teams to have a deeper understanding of who's using that inventory, and being able to see if a season ticket package is being split, who's using different sections of it. Are there even trends within that, right? Are certain users using the weekend games and other users are using the weekday games? Are there certain certain teams that come to town that specific people want to see, right? Starting to really build like deeper profiles of who's actually using the tickets is a really cool thing. And then the other thing, which I just think is funny, is, you know, if there's a season ticket holder that's giving their tickets away to a friend, and those become like historic games with, you know, incredible collectible, with an incredible collectible ticket attached to it, they might actually want that
You're
collectible
losing.
back. So you know, we see that as kind of a really fun piece of this too, is like encouraging people to want to hold their own ticket because of the value of it, whether not just the collectible value, but also the utility and the, you know, loyalty pieces we started talking about.
Gosh, I have so many more questions on that, but I'm going to move on. Let's talk about pricing. Um, do you see blockchain ticketing affect or maybe even improve the pricing the way it is right now and the way it's being affected with the issues we talked about earlier?
Yeah, for sure. I think especially from a secondary market perspective, I mean, that's been the hottest news recently around Bruce Springsteen and you know, the ticket prices for his shows being upwards of $4,000 in some case, right? And so
Yeah.
you know, it definitely can affect pricing, and we feel like it has the power to not just make the event producers and teams more money, but also make sure that the true fans get a hold of the tickets, and that real people aren't priced out of the inventory because of scalpers and bots and things like that. So this doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be any scalping or any secondary market. It's the opposite, actually, right? Teams and venues are now sharing in that secondary market, so they want that to be happening, right, to some extent. It's more about how can we put certain things in place to hopefully encourage scalpers to not price people out of the market. And a great example of this is, we allow our venues, our event producers using our software to set what percentage royalty they want to take on a secondary sale. So by doing that, you could even have sliding royalties and things like that, where, if a ticket's under a certain price point, the venue is taking a smaller cut as opposed to if it's a higher price point taking a bigger cut. So starting to hopefully encourage scalpers to not just buy up a whole bunch of inventory and price it exorbitantly. So we feel like, especially from a secondary perspective, this will be beneficial to fans from a pricing point of view, and then primary as well. We'll just allow teams to really take control of that, and venues to take control of that, to price more fairly and not have to just give all these crazy ticketing fees to the ticketing provider.
Taking control is the theme here.
Exactly.
It really is. And we have to talk about bots. You brought that up. It is an issue. How are we going to prevent bot price manipulations in this case?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, in this case, again, it comes back to, control and transparency around knowing who actually holds the ticket, right? And so because we know in real time if a ticket changes hands or if someone's buying up a whole bunch of inventory, we require, accounts and people holding their own accounts to purchase tickets, we can start to identify, if there's suspicious behavior, if there's accounts buying up crazy amounts of inventory, all kinds of things like that can start to hopefully combat this bots issue, where we can verify who's actually holding the ticket and purchasing the ticket, and that can really help ensure that bots aren't snapping up all the inventory. Instead, the true fans are getting it. And that to take it even a step further too, we started to get into this a little bit, but also rewarding fans with pre-sale opportunities. So let's say, Mona loves to go to the Friday night Orlando Magic games. Next time there's a Friday night game, the team could kind of give her that targeted offer to get the same seats, maybe even, pre-order the same food she had last time, ensuring that she's getting, kind of those seats and they're selling it out as well. And so it's mutually beneficial, right? Mona gets the seats that she wants and she's a true fan, and the team gets to kind of pre-sell that inventory in a way. So a few different things there, but ultimately this transparency will hopefully be, a real big controller of bot traffic in terms of ticketing.
And also NFT authentication itself too, right? Because who would essentially own each of those NFTs, right?
Exactly.
So if there's overactivity, you'll be able to see that or tell, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Well, this is such a nascent space, and you and I both know, and the whole space knows, we still have a lot of work to do. What are some of the current frictions or roadblocks that you think we still have to overcome for, say, mass adoption?
Yeah. I mean, it's a few different things. I think the most basic one is the unfortunately the buzzwords of NFTs and blockchain and metaverse have been used so much over the past year, several months even, that people who aren't super invested in the space or deep into the space, now when they hear that, it becomes a bit scary to people, and for some it means even shutting down completely, right? So I think one of the big things is just getting away from the buzzwords and maybe some of the scary things that have happened in the crypto markets over the past several months, and instead focusing on the true benefits and the ability for this to revolutionize ticketing and also many industries, right? And you and I both know we're just getting started here. Blockchain technology will impact all facets of our life, whether that's real estate, healthcare, ticketing, e-commerce, really beyond, right? And so I think that's the big shift. That it's really around messaging. To me, is like, let's focus on the benefits and what this means for businesses, but also consumers, and how it's going to benefit them, instead of just throwing out the buzzwords to get hype around things. So that's one big thing. and probably the biggest, I would say, in terms of a barrier. And then another one, ticketing related, we kind of already talked about it, but kind of these bigger legacy players that have a bit of a stranglehold on the industry. So despite being a lot of interest and really clear kind of benefits to using blockchain-based ticketing software, it's going to take some time to kind of make inroads. And we want to work with those people who believe in this and see this as the future of ticketing like we do, and also see how much it can impact their business, make them more money, and also improve their fan experience.
A lot of partnerships too. I mean, that's definitely something I see that we'll need to do. It's kind of like baby steps,
Mm-hmm.
right, toward
Exactly.
that direction. I want to pull up a chart here. Well, I asked you this last question, I want to give you a couple of industries, and I want you to tell me which one do you think is ready to go for NFT ticketing. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So we have the business industry, which is education, conferences. Okay.
Mhm.
We have
Yep.
entertainment, which is concert, theater, musical, theme park, cinemas. We have culture, which is museum, tourism. We have transport, which is public transport, travels, I should say.
Mhm.
We have food and beverage. We have restaurants, bars, clubs, lounges. We have sports. We talked about that. And we have gaming and esports. What do you think?
Wow, like this is such a loaded question, and
Sorry.
I could go through each of those and
I
tell you
know.
how blockchain ticketing could revolutionize all of those things. But to focus on a couple, I want to focus on first the business side of things and also the culture side, because I think those are two more underserved areas of the ticketing industry. When you think about conference ticketing, for example, there's no kind of clear leader here in terms of who you do your ticketing through. But there's more and more conferences every day, not just Web3 conferences, but it just continues to grow, right?
Yeah.
And so in terms of that, there's such a cool opportunity there, to really engage conference goers, whether that's providing a live schedule through the ticket itself, allowing them to engage with other attendees, providing them offers to engage with event sponsors. There's so many opportunities there, and conferences are just an area that a lot of ticketing companies, I don't think, are really focused on or thinking about. So
Mhm.
that's one. And then in terms of culture, I love this kind of like museums, experiences, attraction side of things, because those are all about creating immersive and incredibly fun experiences. And so it doesn't really make sense that you're going to this incredible experience, but the ticketing process isn't very fun and isn't very immersive. And so how do we make it, like I said earlier, so the actual event experience starts with that initial ticket purchase, pulling people in, right? Making that initial ticket buying experience really immersive too and really fun. Learning about the event, learning what you're getting into, having that visual, kind of collectible piece start right away that maybe surfaces you relevant information and gets you excited about the experience. Then maybe when you're at the experience, it's also kind of guiding you around and providing different information and offers. And then even after you've left, it reminds you of that incredible experience you've had. So those are just a couple examples,
Yeah.
but I just think that one is so ripe as well, because the way that ticketing is currently done for those experiences just doesn't align with the type of experience that those kind of places are trying to create.
Oh my gosh, I mean, as you were talking, I was thinking museums, right? Right now, you just buy a ticket, you go to in the museum, but imagine how much you could be involved with through your ticket and NFTs in a museum. I mean,
Exactly.
the sky is the limit. Or if you go to these music conferences, right? The
Mhm.
access you can have with the artists,
Mhm.
or that is just, there is so much. It's almost overwhelming.
It is. It's overwhelming, but it's also exciting, right? And that's
Yeah.
why we're just having so many great conversations right now with people across all verticals, right? Whether that's sports, music, food, like you said, there's really kind of a really wide range here. And we're excited to work with all these different verticals to make sure that we're creating solutions, and they're taking advantage of our technology in ways that really make sense for their subsection and for what they're trying to build, right? And creating something that's dynamic and customizable and fun, as well, right? So bunch of stuff there for sure.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited for you guys, and I'm here to contribute any way possible. It's really exciting stuff. Gives me goosebumps, honestly. Let me just go ahead and give you this last question.
Yeah.
I really don't want to end this, to be honest. There's so much to talk about, but it's year 2027. I know it seems so long, but it's only 5 years from now. How will Tixology have revolutionized the world of ticketing by now?
Yeah, for sure. I love this question, and I've mentioned a few of these things already, so I apologize. But frankly, we're big believers that this is blockchain ticketing is the future of ticketing, and we strongly believe that we're well positioned with the right partners, with the right advisors, and with the right team to really be the biggest disruptors in this space. So when we think about that, we think about Tixology tickets powering everything from museum experiences to conferences to music festivals to food festivals to comedy shows, whatever that may be, and really creating a way for all of these different verticals to, like I said, drive more revenue, understand who their true fans are, engage with those true fans, and on the fan side, providing ways for them to have a more immersive experience, have a collectible reminder of that experience, and continue to engage with their favorite brands and teams on a deeper level.
Wow. And it's so awesome to see people like you so passionate about this, building and creating. Asher, thank you so much for participating on the show today. It was really great to have you on.
Thanks so much for having me, Mona, and would love to chat with anyone interested in the future of ticketing.
Yeah, of course. And I'm going to leave all your information and the links for Tixology in the comment section for people to reach out. You are more than welcome to come back anytime. There's so many topics we can do deep dives on. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mona. Really appreciate it.
And thank you everyone for joining us on the latest episode of Metaverse Express Full Stop. I'm your host, Mona. Until next time. That was Asher Weiss, the CEO and co-founder of Tixology. Now, let me know what you think about this topic. I would love to hear from you in the comment section. All right, guys. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks again for joining me and for watching another episode of Metaverse Express Full Stop. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you next week with more news in the Metaverse.